Cowboys Nation, listen up. It's crunch time in Dallas, and once again, the Cowboys find themselves staring down the barrel of another trade deadline, filled with rumors, speculation, and that ever-present question, what's Jerry Jones going to do this time? The league's eyes are fixed on the star in Frisco, because everyone knows that when the Cowboys' phones start ringing in late October, something is about to happen. And now, with just days to go before the trade window closes, a new name has entered the conversation: Kansas City Chiefs cornerback Joshua Williams. Two-time Super Bowl champion, fourth-round pick, a player with untapped potential and something to prove. And yes, a player who could quietly become the steal of this year's deadline. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Cowboys' secondary has been a mess. Since Trevon Diggs went down with a concussion and later landed on injured reserve, this defense has been reeling. Dallas has been bleeding yards through the air, allowing chunk plays at critical moments, and struggling to find any sense of stability in coverage. ESPN's Seth Walters summed it up perfectly this week. Every Dallas cornerback, aside from Trevon Diggs, has allowed more than 1.1 yards per coverage snap this season. That's not just bad, it's bottom tier. And for a defense that's already been called one of the worst in football by national analysts, that's a brutal stat to swallow. Now, that's where Joshua Williams comes in. He's not a household name, but he's the kind of player who could be exactly what the Cowboys need right now. A tough, physical corner who's been molded in one of the best defensive systems in the NFL. Let's talk credentials. 2 Super Bowl rings with the Kansas City Chiefs. 775 regular season coverage snaps in his young career, and a 0.9 yards allowed per coverage snap average across that span. That's elite efficiency for a rotational player. And what's even more intriguing? He's done all that while playing behind names like L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. In other words, he's been buried on the Chiefs' depth chart, not because of talent, but because Kansas City is loaded. In Dallas, things would be different. Williams would get an immediate chance to start. He'd step into a role that's not just open, it's crying out for help. With Diggs on IR and Deron Bland doing everything he can to hold the line, this secondary desperately needs reinforcements. And the timing couldn't be better. Dallas has 3 critical games left before the playoff picture starts to take shape. And if Jerry Jones is serious about keeping this team in contention, he can't afford to sit still. Here's the beauty of the Joshua Williams scenario. It's exactly the kind of move Jerry loves. Low risk, high reward. A talented young player on a contract year available at a discount price, who brings championship experience and a hunger to prove himself. Think about it. 2 Super Bowl rings before the age of 25, and yet he's still playing like a man who hasn't earned his spot. That's the kind of energy you want in a locker room that's been searching for leadership and accountability. But let's also look at this from the strategic side. The Cowboys' defense right now doesn't just need star power, it needs depth. It needs players who can come in, play smart, disciplined football, and execute Brian Schottenheimer and Matt Eberflus's schemes without the mental lapses we've seen far too often this season. The problem hasn't been just talent, it's been communication, consistency, and confidence. Adding a player like Williams, who spent his entire career under Steve Spagnuolo's aggressive, complex defensive system, could bring a level of poise and understanding that this secondary has been missing. And make no mistake, this isn't about bringing in another project or camp body. Williams isn't some undrafted rookie fighting for a spot. He's a proven contributor who's made plays in the biggest games on the planet. He's faced Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes in practice, and played on football's biggest stage. When the lights are brightest, this kid doesn't flinch. That's the kind of DNA Dallas needs right now. Championship DNA. Let's also talk about the financial side, because you know Jerry Jones is. Williams is in the final year of his rookie deal, meaning his cap hit would be minimal. That's the definition of a Jerry Jones special. Production without the price tag. Dallas could likely acquire him for a late day 3 pick, maybe a conditional 5th or 6th rounder. And if he performs well, they could even look at re-signing him next offseason without wrecking the salary cap. It's a win-win. But beyond the stats and salary talk, here's what matters most: momentum. This team has been fighting through injuries, inconsistency, and public doubt.
Every analyst on ESPN, Fox, and NFL Network has written them off. They say Dallas is too flawed, too soft on defense, too unstable to make a playoff push. But a move like this, one that shores up a key weakness and injects new life into the locker room, could change everything. Because confidence is contagious. When a team starts to believe that help is coming, that ownership is invested, that the front office still believes in them, that energy spreads. And let's not pretend the players aren't paying attention. Dak Prescott has been vocal all season about wanting the defense to step up. CeeDee Lamb has said this offense can hang with anybody, but they need support on the other side of the ball. Adding Joshua Williams isn't just a tactical move, it's a statement. It says, we're not giving up on this season. We're still fighting. Let's take a step back and remember something. The Cowboys are still in this fight. Despite the setbacks, despite the 3-4-1 record, they're not out. The NFC is wide open, and with divisional games still on the schedule, there's everything left to play for. That's why this trade deadline matters so much, because in the NFL, one move can change the entire trajectory of a season. And here's something else worth mentioning. Sources around the league, including reports from ESPN and NFL.com, have indicated that Dallas has been making exploratory calls for defensive help. That means the front office isn't just sitting on their hands. They're active. They're looking. They're trying to find the right fit. Not just a splashy name, but a player who actually makes sense in this system. Joshua Williams checks every box. He's got length at 6'3". He's physical at the line of scrimmage. He's versatile enough to play outside or slide into zone coverage when needed. And most importantly, he's young. That's the kind of piece you can build with. Imagine a secondary next year with Trevon Diggs, DaRon Bland, and Joshua Williams. That's a trio with range, toughness, and swagger. That's a defensive backfield that can compete with anyone. The Cowboys don't need another headline move right now. They don't need to trade away draft capital for an aging veteran or a high-priced rental. What they need is smart, steady improvement. They need players who can help them win now while laying the foundation for next year. Williams could be that bridge, a young veteran who brings championship pedigree and long-term upside. So, Cowboys Nation, here's the reality. This trade deadline might not bring the blockbuster deal that some fans are hoping for, but that doesn't mean Dallas can't make a move that matters. Sometimes the quiet moves, the ones that fly under the radar, end up being the ones that change everything. Remember when no one talked about DaRon Bland until he stepped in and started making plays? Remember when everyone questioned the Brandon Aubrey signing, and now he's one of the best kickers in football? That's the kind of story Joshua Williams could write in Dallas. Jerry Jones has a choice to make. Does he stand pat and hope this defense can fix itself? Or does he take one smart swing, just one, to stabilize this unit before it's too late? If I ask me, this is the time to act, because a cornerback with championship experience and something to prove doesn't come around often. So Cowboys Nation, what do you think? Should Jerry Jones make the call to Kansas City and bring Joshua Williams to Dallas? Would you trust him to step up and solidify this defense down the stretch? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe to Dallas Game Day for more news, passion, and fire straight from the heart of Cowboys Nation. This is Dallas Game Day, the pulse of the star, where we don't just cover the Cowboys, we live them. And as we head into the deadline, one thing is clear. Dallas still has fight left. One smart move could be the spark that turns it all around. Because when the lights shine brightest and the season's on the line, that's when Cowboys Nation rises. And trust me, this story isn't over yet.